The geopolitical landscape is shifting as China's President Xi Jinping issues a direct warning to the incoming Trump administration. At the heart of this friction lies Taiwan, an island that has become the most sensitive flashpoint in U.S.-China relations. As Donald Trump prepares to return to the White House, the rhetoric from Beijing has sharpened, signaling that the Taiwan question remains a non-negotiable red line. Today, we analyze the heightened tensions, the specific warnings issued by Xi, and whether the world is truly on the brink of an inevitable conflict in the Pacific.
President Xi Jinping has explicitly stated that Taiwan is the first red line that must not be crossed in U.S.-China relations. During recent diplomatic summits, Xi emphasized that any support for Taiwan's independence is viewed as a direct threat to China's sovereignty. This isn't just rhetoric. It is a fundamental pillar of Beijing's One China principle. With the U.S. providing billions in military aid, the friction between Washington's defense of democracy and Beijing's territorial claims has reached a boiling point, leaving little room for diplomatic maneuvering.
Donald Trump's approach to Taiwan is complex, blending aggressive trade protectionism with transactional diplomacy. In the past, Trump has questioned the cost of defending Taiwan, while his administration simultaneously increased high-level visits and arms sales to the island. Xi's warning is a preemptive strike against a possible return to these policies. Trump's America First agenda may lead to higher tariffs on Chinese goods, but his stance on direct military intervention remains a wildcard that keeps both Beijing and Taipei on high alert. The physical reality of these tensions is seen in the Taiwan Strait. China's People's Liberation Army has significantly increased its activity, with hundreds of ADIZ incursions recorded annually. These maneuvers are designed to normalize a military presence around the island and test the response times of the Taiwanese Air Force. The scale of these exercises has grown, involving aircraft carriers and amphibious assault drills. For observers, the question isn't just if China will act, but when their gray zone tactics might transition into a full-scale blockade or invasion. Taiwan's importance isn't just strategic, it's economic. The island produces over 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors through TSMC. This silicon shield makes Taiwan indispensable to the global economy, including China's own tech sector. A conflict would not only disrupt global supply chains, but could trigger a worldwide economic depression. Both Trump and Xi understand that any physical damage to Taiwan's fabrication plants would set the global technology race back by decades, making the stakes of a potential war incredibly high for every nation on Earth. Regardless of who sits in the Oval Office, the U.S. Congress has maintained a staunchly pro-Taiwan stance. The Taiwan Relations Act and various bipartisan bills ensure that the U.S. continues to provide the island with the means to defend itself. This legislative framework creates a floor for U.S. support that even a president might find difficult to lower. As Xi Jinping warns Trump, he is also speaking to a Washington establishment that has increasingly come to view Taiwan as a critical partner in the Indo-Pacific strategy to contain Chinese expansion.
For decades, the U.S. has operated under a policy of strategic ambiguity, refusing to say definitely whether it would intervene militarily if China attacked Taiwan. However, this policy is under strain. Presidents have made increasingly clear statements suggesting intervention, while Beijing demands strategic clarity that the U.S. will stay out. The transition to a new administration creates a window of uncertainty. Xi's warning to Trump is an attempt to force a return to ambiguity, or ideally for Beijing, a commitment to non-interference in what it considers an internal matter. Xi Jinping's hardline stance is also a reflection of domestic realities. As China faces an economic slowdown and a demographic crisis, nationalism serves as a powerful unifying force. The reunification of Taiwan is a key component of Xi's great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. This internal pressure makes it difficult for Xi to appear weak or conciliatory toward Trump. Any perceived challenge to China's sovereignty over Taiwan must be met with a strong response to maintain the Communist Party's domestic legitimacy during these turbulent economic times.
The cost of a war over Taiwan would be astronomical.
Economic modeling suggests a conflict could cost the global economy upwards of $10 trillion, roughly 10% of global GDP. This would eclipse the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine combined. From the collapse of shipping lanes in the South China Sea to the total freeze of the electronics industry, the stakes are not just local, but existential for the modern financial system. This staggering figure is perhaps the strongest deterrent against a hot war, yet military preparations on both sides continue unabated.
Is war inevitable? While the rhetoric is alarming and military drills are frequent, the Silicon Shield and the massive economic costs provide a powerful incentive for peace. Xi's warning to Trump is a high-stakes opening move in a new chapter of U.S.-China competition. The path forward will require delicate diplomacy, clear communication, and a mutual understanding of each other's red lines. As the world watches the transition of power in Washington, the hope remains that the cost of conflict remains too high for either side to pay. The future of the Pacific hangs in the balance.